When Michael McNichol built his house and garden for wife Stacy and their son Cash, he pulled from his bank account of innovation, hard work, and sensitivity to resources rather than a ton of money.
You don't need a lot of money to make your microenvironment, something that you enjoy, and you don't need to, you don't have to spend a lot of money on plants even. There's a lot of camaraderie between gardeners. They're always willing to share seeds and plants.
To build his house, Michael also relied on his camaraderie with architect friends Philip Kyle and Spence Kellum. With them as sounding boards, he went to work.
My personality is when I need something, I try to create it myself. So I bought this vacant lot, built the house with my own two hands, and when I was finished, the yard needed to be done.
It took him 3 years to build his energy-efficient house using recycled materials when possible. At lunchtime, he visited metal recycling sites for repurposing inspiration. Before Cash was born, he and Stacy lived on site to work on the house after hours.
Some of my friends have said this is the best piece of junk I ever bought, and so, and it's probably true. But the reason I bought the Airstream was I wanted to lower my costs while I built the house. People can stay in it if they come visit, and I use it as a mudroom. I have my radio in there, and on the weekends I like to spend as much time as possible outside. I'll pop open the door, and the music's coming out, and I'm doing yard work, and you can get a drink of water.
Michael screens it with stylish recycling. In their convivial neighborhood, Michael made the front yard a welcome mat. Stacy rotates seasonal edibles and herbs in a foundling stock tank drilled for drainage. Since the front yard's the sunniest spot, that's where Michael and Cash plant curbside flowers and vegetables.
And I'm very local, use up local stuff, and there's nothing more local than your front yard, right?
Michael used scraps of rebar to discourage cats from scratching up new seeds. With other repurposed vines, he created artistic coffee tables and planters. Philip Kyle was the go-to guy to help Michael with personalized postal service. Other friends created fun things for Cash.
It's just reuse and recycle and try to make something interesting out of junk if you can. I'll just observe someone and go, well, they just built basically a box out of steel, and I can do that.
That was his fearless attitude when it came to the fence on the other side.
I had a stack of leftover steel that I'd used on all the stair rails and the balconies, so I had the steel left over and I didn't want to throw it away. And I needed a fence on that side, I felt. And at the same time, a friend of mine was tearing his old dilapidated shed down that had this beautiful rusted tin roof. And I was like, what are you going to do with that? And he's like, well, you can have it if you help me help me a little bit and haul it off. It just worked for a fence. So it creates these nice horizontal lines that I think look real nice. And as the sun comes up, it gets these really nice shades. It gets these real nice textures on it. So it was basically a free fence. It just took some time to build, a couple of weekends.
He learns as he goes, like with the evolution of the driveway's walkway.
Although I'm not that talented, I do have talented friends, and the friends that I have here in town like to also build. And so we help each other think of things to do, and he recommended that could be a walkway. And at one point I had flagstone there. I just had rocks there, and then it went to flagstone, and then I decided that it should be an e-pay walkway, since I found e-pay on Craigslist real cheap. I make a lot of mistakes in retrospect because I don't do this for a living, so I approach everything as a problem-solving opportunity.
Since 2006, when he finished the house, Michael's been figuring out the perfect backyard.
In the back, I had just kind of created a open space, and I put down just a real nice clean layer of decomposed granite, and it looked real clean and nice. And but unfortunately, that material didn't really work for us, and so the guy up the street was putting in sod, and he got it delivered. And if you get it delivered, you have to buy a whole pallet, and he only needed a half a pallet. So he called me and asked me if I wanted it, and of course, me being me, I took my truck down there, loaded it up, and just put the sod down rather quickly. And so I created just a little strip, and I thought of having circles or squares, or but it just worked out to have a strip of lawn back there that I visualized me and my kid having a little pitching area back there, and so I did that, and it created a section about half the width of the space that's currently there. Eventually, I changed my mind, and I took that grass out, and I planted a vegetable garden there. And that vegetable garden didn't yield a whole lot for me, and it turned out to be a little more work than I was willing to put into it when this little front yard was fine for me. And so I had all this sill left over, so I just elongated it and got another half pallet and replanted it.
Since fish are fun for a child too, Michael and Stacy turned another stock tank into a child-sized pond. In just a small area, they've created the perfect playground for a small child.
There was a tire laying on the side of the road, and if you got a 2-year-old, and he needs a tire swing, obviously, I think. And so what I did was I took the tire part off, the rim, and I made a tire swing for Cash, and then I took the steel part and mounted it to a pole so I could wrap the hose around it. So it prevented the tire from going into the landfill.
Michael's not finished yet, but as a new gardener, he's discovered lessons from the past while adding new ones of his own.
I realized as you get older, you don't realize what your parents teach you until much later in a lot of cases, and that's how me and my mother would bond, is I would visit her, like if I was away at college or something. The way we spent time was me digging up her plants and moving them, because she was sort of like me. I'll plant a plant one day, and the next week I decide I don't like it there, so I dig it up and move it. So that's where I got that affliction. So it's just playing with, it's kind of good right brain and left brain activity. And the other thing is now that I do have a kid, I do want to kind of instill in him that, the same thing that my mother instilled in me, which is, get out in the yard, get your hands dirty, and it's really therapeutic and it's creative. Anyone can do it. It's not difficult. It's hard work, but I think it's rewarding.